Thank you so much, Dr. Margaret. It's always such an honor when I could, join what I truly consider a family at this point, because we're joined in our mission and our passion for Africa. That's why I wanted to choose this day to also honor the spirit of our ancestors, especially who led the way before we came to be. A lot of people may see Akibulan on my chest. That was what Africa was known before they told us we were Africa. We were the mother of mankind. So what excites me about a day like today is the topic in particular, from clicks to progress. Youth develop digital pathways for sustainable development. Before we start, I want to take a journey down memory lane because I truly feel that history repeats itself. But oftentimes humans are caught not learning from the failures of our past. In 1884, a British inventor called Hiram Stevens Maxim invented what arguably changed the fortunes of Africa forever. A lot of people on the call may be too young or may have not heard of the Maxim gun. 1884, one slight change in development in technology changed warfare forever. People who knew Africa was gifted, Africa was mighty, knew that our physical strength, just based on our DNA, was something that always gave us the advantage. But oftentimes as human beings, our physical strength wanes away and we lose sight that the greatest gift God gifted to mankind was the ability of our mind. The Maxim gun changed warfare because it was an automatic machine gun that could kill and do damage at a rate so much faster than our ancestors that yielded swords and machetes. The Maxim gun could stand meters away and fire hundreds of bullets at the same time, killing so many of our ancestors before they could even make contact with the enemy to defend our nations. Such a technological gap had economic implications because that's when African nations started falling to colonialism. That's when our sovereignties became in jeopardy because we did not adapt to the technology at that time. And something that was important to note that warfare in that day and age was not for the old. The youth were the vanguard, and innovation was necessary for victory against what was an enemy at the time and shaped the outlook of our nations. So if we stand today as a continent divided in ways that do not make sense, because there's no such thing as a Gambian, for example. I trace my ancestry to all the way from Sine Saloum in Senegal to Guinea-Bissau. So the idea of being an African is such an important aspect of who we are. So when we speak about technology, let's learn from history. I consider the time and space that we're in right now our digital revolution, as in technology is the Maxim gun. And it's sad to say that we are already behind. I find it particularly important that when you say digital pathways for sustainability, you could have a pathway. That doesn't mean you would reach your destination because, as you guys know, a pathway should be walked on, meaning we have a responsibility to sustain movement along a path that we collectively agree that is best for everybody on the continent to reach what we define as development. And for young people, I want us to start recalibrating what we think about when we think about development. Development is not poverty reduction. Development is prosperity creation. Creating an Africa where if you are 18 years old in Africa or in Gambia, you don't wake up with a vacancy in your eyes wondering what the future holds for you because unfortunately the leaders of our past failed to prepare and till the soils that will bear fruits of prosperity for our today. So the development and the time and space that we're in right now, leveraging what is now universal. I go back to Maxim when he was in the lab developing what could do damage to rule us. Our chiefs were sitting in their bantabas eating grapes from their concubines. We cannot make the same mistakes that our ancestors did. We live in a day and age where the digital ecosystem has been democratized. Every African student with internet could learn courses from the best courses in the universe. So when we talk about from clicks to progress, every human being on the continent is a click away, not to poverty reduction, but to prosperity reduction. But most of the times we have to align and provide, especially our young people, which tools when we talk about sustainable development. And I'm not going to speak from a perspective of a healthcare professional, even though healthcare in particular, with digital health innovations, has revolutionized how care is provided. But when we talk about tools, I'm going to go over some of the aspects for every young people in Africa to realize the opportunity that we have ahead of us. When we talk about digital literacy, universities that used to be libraries that you have to go to, the internet is a university. Leveraging technologies like AI, e-commerce platforms, YouTube networks, online skill developments are all avenues where now what we used to consider schooling and education has totally evolved. Schooling might be a place that you go to build, honestly, a moral character, build aspects of discipline, but education is no longer synonymous with schooling. Our digital ecosystem for every young people is Africa's best opportunity to catch up because we are behind. But also as young people in this day and age, as we know, when God gifts us with something that could be a source of abundance, human beings have a tendency to fall prey to such abundance. So the same way the internet and the digital ecosystem for our young people is a wealth of knowledge, it could be a source of distraction. Artificial intelligence is something that we're not talking about the future. We used to live in a day and age when I was younger where watching James Bond have a watch that he could speak into was mind-blowing innovation. Now Gambian 15, 16 years olds are walking around with an Apple Watch and they're speaking through the Apple Watch. This just goes to show you how fast innovation and technology is moving. But that same technology, there is a young person learning not where it is now, but where the future is going. So we have a collective responsibility not even to start thinking about how to evolve, how to change. Because the reality is what happens oftentimes outside of our world, outside of Gambia, there's a sense of envy. Because for me as an adult now, there's a sense of sadness when I see where the state of the continent is. Throughout the continent, young people are searching for hope. Young people are desperate. There's a vacancy, the joy and the exuberance that used to exist when we were growing up is no longer there because every single day we are wondering, where is a space for our young people? Young people are searching for role models throughout the continent. And oftentimes I say, any place that is void of role models calls for the remodeling of that society, a redirection of our internal compass to create a spirit of selflessness. Any place that is void of a role model, we need to start evolving where a person's character determines how successful or how much honor they get in society. Because we simply cannot use the tools of 1965, using Gambia as an example, to build a 2065 that we are going to be a part of. And I'm going to speak to the three, what I consider the core values of coaches of influence, the foundation. It struck me when I saw that there was identity, impact, and influence. What I liked about the layout was in the middle was identity. to the sides of identity was impact and influence. And I want to use this opportunity to highlight that there is a progression in life that needs to happen, because we also have a tendency to put influence and impact before forming an identity as a young person. The identity is defining your character. The identity is finding your purpose, because God put all of us on earth with a skill set that could change humanity if we walk down that path. That's why spiritually he even tells you, just walk. And he knows what's in front of you and what is behind you. But it's urgent. There's an urgency to start seeing as identity even should happen while you are incubating yourself as a young person. Everybody on the continent knows that majority of our continent is young. The median age in Africa is 18 years old. But what's more shocking is 40% of our population is under 15. So I consider every African who is 18 not the future. You are the now. The responsibility lies on us to create the future that we need to be a part of. But also knowing that there is a process that needs to happen. And incubation, I see incubation as spending Saturday morning or afternoon in a space like this where like-minded people are finding solutions to our problems. Because if history has also taught us anything, is that nobody is coming to save us as a continent. We have the responsibility to shape leaders that embody the values and the wisdom of our forefathers and use it with the modern day technology, the modern day information of the today, not for our benefit, but for the benefit of those behind us, because the percentage of people that are under 15, we have a responsibility to those individuals. It's in that spirit that I want to talk about a few things that are interesting. When Africa was on the brink of fighting away from the chains of our forefathers, of our colonial masters, our forefathers, majority of the forefathers on the continent who had the courage, had the character, were under 50 years old. I think about Thomas Sankara, who was 33 years old when he became president. I think about Julius Nyerere, who when he was 42 years old and led his nation. I think about Sekou Touré from our Guinean neighbors, who was 36 years old. So we also need to ask ourselves, when did this idea of waiting to be old to lead transition on the continent? So for every 18-year-old that is on this call right now, that hopefully is going through their incubation period, impact is going to start once you feel like you have acquired the amount of skills requisite, discipline, but moral character to lead our continent forward. Because yes, oftentimes we could say it's time for young people. No, it's time for people of character. It's time for people who have courage. It's time for people who love nation. And it's time for people who, irrespective of any industry that you're in, be it healthcare, be it agriculture, be it engineering, be it law, that is not who you are. That is the vehicle that God puts you in to serve humanity. So when we talk about leadership and the spirit of leadership, I want to leave you guys with a piece of nugget that hopefully will resonate to you. I see leadership as three different faiths that determine where places, nations, continents go. I want to start from leadership from a place of scarcity of the past, which unfortunately has been what we have fell victim to. A leader who leads from a place of scarcity thinks about what he did not accumulate in the past. So when he has an opportunity to serve, he serves himself. That's what all the ills in our continent, you see that trend. Then you see the leadership of the present, which oftentimes us young people may fall prey to. Leadership of the present is leadership of instant gratification. You want impact, influence, and an identity to happen within the same time. It's you leading on what it could do for you today. And that leadership, even if we adopt that model of leadership as a continent, it cannot be sustainable because the development part has to be sustained, as in we have to lead from a place of abundance. Leadership from a place of abundance is realizing that man truly finds himself when he loses himself in the service of others. Leadership from a place of abundance is leading for the future. Is looking at that 11-year-old Gambian, Nigerian, Rwandese child, and as a 25-year-old making a promise to him that I will not fail you, because for every waking moment I have, I am going to make sure by the time you are 25, I left this place in a better place for you. That is the promise we owe to our future. So it's not a matter of we are next, we are now. And we have to realize that the moment you turn 18, you are older than the medium African, meaning you have a responsibility to do it through your actions, through your civic education, choosing the leaders that represent our future. And this is the hope that I know we will create, because at the end of the day, God has already had our destiny in our hands. And I believe that the Africa of now, the Africa of today, we will define and change the narrative. That way the ancestors of Stephen Hiram Maxim will know that our ancestors left us with all the might, physical and mental might, to build the Africa that we deserve. So on that note, I celebrate you guys as young people of Africa. I celebrate the courageous and selfless leaders of Africa who are building the tomorrow, and realize that we are allies in a fight that is so much bigger than what we have in front of us. So God bless you. Thank you. And to God always be the glory, because without him, nothing that we do will be possible. Thank you so much.